Hi there, it's Mrs. Higgins. I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about some place value concepts that we learned in third grade. And I'm just going to go over some things. That way, if you're working with your kiddos at home, you're understanding what I'm trying to teach them in the classroom, and that way you can communicate the same sort of concepts with them. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. In third grade, they have to learn up to the hundreds, thousands place, and it can be really tricky. Just because when a kid sees a 5 or 6 digit number, they don't know what to call it because there's too many spots and they don't know the order. So what I show them in the classroom is it's a lot of vocabulary, but in the end it's going to pay off a lot because a STAR test involves lots of academic vocabulary. So just like any normal, I guess, place value lesson, you're taught the places are ones, tens, and hundreds. Okay, so our ones, tens, and hundreds. They learn up to the thousands place in second grade, and so third grade they add 2 more places, which is your 10,000s place and your 100,000s place. So what I tell the kiddos is that in place value we have what are called periods. And in a period there are 3 place values, which are your ones, tens, and your hundreds. This period, I'm not quite sure why, and I even tell the kids that, I'll admit it, I don't know why it's called that. But this period, for whatever reason, is called our ones period. This is our ones. I just do a P for period. Inside every period are the same 3 places, ones, tens, and hundreds. Okay, so what comes next is our comma, and the comma in math is put there to separate our periods. So the next period, which consists of the same thing as the first one, ones, tens, and hundreds, is the same as this, but not quite the same, because clearly they're not in the same place. However, they all consist of ones, tens, and hundreds. The difference is this is in the ones period and this is in the thousands period. So I always do like a TH for thousands and then a P for period. So what the kids need to understand is that this is the ones, tens, and hundreds in the thousands period. I prefer for them to say that this is not the thousands place. I want them to call it the 1,000s place. And I want them to call this obviously the 10,000s place and the 100,000s place. Traditionally, kids label their place value charts and they'll write like 100,000s under this line, 10,000s, thousands. I prefer this way because there's a pattern. It's always ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds. The only thing different is what your period is. And the comma helps you separate that. So whenever we get to a number, like, I don't know, 5, 4, sorry, it's a little crooked and upside down. 6, 3, and I don't know, 2. So when they get to a number and they just see this normal, if they just saw this on a piece of paper, they are very stuck. There's too many things going through their head. What place is that? What is the value? And it's just the commas there. It's confusing. So what I try to teach them is that you need to read these as though it's a 10 and a 1. Okay. Whenever you get to the comma is there to say the period it's in, and it helps you separate those. So if you just read it normally, 54, because it's a 10 and a 1, if you read it 54, when you get to the comma, say the period, and then just read the next set normally. So I want them to say 54,632. It's taking a lot of practice, especially in the 10,000s place, because that is a new place that they're getting this year. But I just want them to understand that if you read the 10 and the 1 normal, when you get to the comma, say the period it's in, and then read this normal. Because that's just how that's just normally how we say it. Because they want to say like 5,400, and then they realize this is the hundreds place, and they're super stuck. So they just need to understand that this is a 10 and 1 in the thousands period. So 54,632. Something else that's very important as they're learning place value relationships And on the STAR test, they actually have to explain why they choose answers. They have to understand that every digit has a different value. Even though this is a 5, it's not worth 5. Since it is a 5 in the 10,000s place, its value is actually 50,000. And I know you know that, but if the kids can just understand it's in the tens place, so it's 50, but it's in the thousands period, so that makes it 50,000, they'll be much more successful. One thing also before I let you go is that the pattern will continue, I tell them, for the rest of your life, except when you get to the decimals, which is a 5th grade thing. So actually it's in 4th grade, but don't panic. Whenever they go on to the millions in 4th and the billions in 5th, the pattern continues. It's always ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, and then it will be ones, tens, hundreds, but the millions period, and then one, tens, hundreds, and the billions period. So if they just understand this pattern, and what's really just changing is your periods, they will be more successful.